Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of STEM Girls Virtual, where we talk about all the careers in the STEM fields. Those fields are science, technology, engineering, and math. My name is Becca, and I am here on behalf of Cincinnati Museum Center with an amazing guest. Her name is Anne Gray, and she is the education specialist at Rumpke Waste and Recycling. Hi, Anne, how are you today?
Hi, Becca. Hi, everyone.
And thank you so much for joining us. Without further ado, we're going to just jump in for some questions. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
Fantastic. So the first question is, can you tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do in your job?
All right. Well, I'm actually part of Rumpke's corporate communications department. So a lot of what I do has to do with speaking and writing. I do a lot of the tours of our facility. I do tours of our recycling facility here in Cincinnati, which is located in St. Bernard, and also the landfill in Coleraine Township. So that's a big component as to what I do. I also do a lot of presentations in schools and for businesses, different organizations, and that type of thing. We have a fan club at Rumpke, so please check that out. You can sign up for that on our website, rumpke.com. So I write the newsletter that we send out for that fan club, and it's real informative. It's fun. It just gives you maybe kind of a behind the scenes look as to what's going on in our industry with waste and recycling. And then also I write articles sometimes for our internal publication for our employees, which we call the Rumpke Review. I do interviews sometimes like this for radio or TV. And also I'm in charge of the scholarship program that Rumpke has. So I've recently just read about 600 scholarship applications.
Wow,
So
that's
fun,
a
right?
lot of reading.
A lot of reading, and it makes me really happy to hear some of the goals and plans that a lot of these students have.
That's so great. And so it's you're working in this STEM world, but you're
Yes.
doing a lot of communication and using language and presentation and stuff like that. So it's kind of a unique mix of the two. It's not purely STEM. It's using interpersonal skills and stuff like that. It sounds
It
like.
definitely is that, and that is a skill that I think early on when I was working for Rumpke initially, I was in the sales department, municipal sales. I think it was evident that that was something that I enjoyed doing, and it was something that it's just something in my skill set. You know, we all have different things that we excel at, and that was something for me, and always working to improve that. So you're right, it's kind of a combination of a number of different things, but of course, having to understand all of the science behind the landfill and our recycling facilities.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So the next question is, can you please tell us what sparked your interest in this field? And did you always want to go into this, or was it something that you grew into? You just mentioned a little bit of how you kind of grew into your current role, but was working with recycling and, public relations and stuff like that. Was that always something that you wanted to be a part of?
Not at all. Things just kind of evolved. I actually have a degree from Miami University in dietetics, so nutrition. So a lot of my career was working in hospitals. And I moved to Cincinnati from Northeast Ohio about 15 years ago and just decided that I wanted to change and thought I wanted a challenge. And I like science. I've always liked science. It's something that I've been interested in. So this was just maybe a little bit different slant on science, but still, again, understanding it, understanding the process, and making sure that I'm contacting people in our company now that have that knowledge that I can learn from.
Very cool. Thank you. The next question is, what is one of the coolest experiences you've had as part of your career?
All right. I would say that one of the coolest experiences I've had is working at a camp that we call Green Camp. And it's with students that are elementary school age. And we hold this every year. Unfortunately, this year we won't be able to, but we hold it every year at our Brown County landfill. And it's fun because we are on the landfill and we're looking for fossils, or we're going to an area of the landfill that's our wetlands and we're studying and observing the birds, or the plants that are there, or the geology of that area. So it's just a period of discovery, and the students that attend are always so excited about this. And it's just really a fun day to be outdoors and appreciate all of that.
So it sounds like Rumpke is doing a lot to sort of rehabilitate the areas that they are using as landfill, and then using that rehabilitation project to then educate a lot of kids and a lot of people of all ages. And that's fantastic to hear. You mentioning like wetlands and stuff like that, those are such a rich ecosystem and so important. So that's fantastic to hear that Rumpke is doing those things.
Right. In fact, at that landfill in Brown County, the wetlands that have been there, since we have been at that landfill, we've even improved the wetlands. So it's just something that we take very seriously, of course, wanting to be in compliance and definitely being very responsible and promoting environmental sustainability in every way we can.
That's fantastic. And what a great opportunity to teach kids at a young age about how to be sustainable and how to, even though we do have trash and we have to throw it away, how to still be responsible with our planet. That's so important. Now more than ever, we're seeing so many issues with that. So thank you. That's fantastic. And will you guys be doing anything virtually for that camp, do you think, to keep kids learning this summer?
That's a good question. We're starting to think about that. In fact, just this week, we've been maybe throwing around some ideas, thinking about maybe something in the fall. We're not sure. But it is definitely something that we want to continue because with this specific camp, this would have been the 10-year anniversary. So it was going to be celebrated in a really unique way. And we still will, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not the sole person that's doing that. I'm kind of an accessory. Rumpke is a partner in this process. But definitely it's something that we're going to look forward to in the future. And I'm sure it'll come back bigger and better.
Fantastic. Well, we hope to hear more. Keep us posted. I know there are plenty of kids out there who I know personally that would love to be a part of that. I'm interested. Maybe I can come. Our next question is, what is a challenge that you faced on your journey in your career and how did you overcome it? We know that sometimes learning from how others overcame challenges helps us overcome our own challenges, and we would love to learn from you.
Well, I will say one thing that was a challenge for me was just technology and trying to get up to speed with technology. So I would encourage all students in any way, shape, form you can, make sure that you are proficient in different things with the computer. You understand that, you're learning it. You will use it in any job that you have. And I think that that was something that was difficult for me and still is. But I'm so fortunate to work with a group of people that are helpful and we're a team. So if I need help, they're there for me and vice versa for different things. So that would be one thing. And then with my job, this is a challenge that I really enjoy because I could be speaking to a group of preschool children, or I could be speaking to a group of executives from an international corporation. So it's just knowing my audience and knowing how to present the material that is something that can sometimes be a challenge, but I like that aspect of it. It kind of changes it up. And then something that I should admit, because this was a challenge for me when I moved to Cincinnati, I had no GPS. I was getting lost everywhere I went, and that was kind of stressful. So I learned to use technology in that way because I'm always one of these people that wants to be there 10 minutes early. My colleagues tease me about that. They'd say 10 minutes, you're there an hour early sometimes. But it's just something that that I had to overcome. And I know I have no sense of direction, but there are ways to compensate for that.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I think it's great that you mentioned that one of your challenges is a good challenge. It's a fun challenge. Not all challenges are bad. Some challenges are great. And you should embrace them and keep trying. And we love to encourage you to work through your challenges. Our next question is, what is some advice you'd like to give any young person wanting to pursue a career in a STEM field, whether it's, a more scientific and math-oriented STEM field or working in an organization that does handle STEM attributes like you, but you're doing more like personal relations and stuff like that. Just give us a little bit of advice.
Well, I would say, first of all, don't shy away from challenging courses in school. I think that's something that's real important. Make sure that you are paying attention to the classes that you're taking in school. And I know you have teachers and advisors that are there to assist you with that. So that would be one thing. And work hard with those classes. Take them seriously. every grade, one grade in particular. Sometimes students kind of slack off in ninth grade for whatever reason, thinking, oh, I'll catch up. It's not good to do something like that. It's like being really behind in a basketball game and
Mhm.
then realizing that in the last couple of minutes you have to catch up. That's stressful and it's not a lot of fun. So I would say be very consistent with the work that you do in school. I would always encourage students to do any type of shadowing that they could do. And I know a lot of the schools are doing that and doing maybe field trips to different companies where STEM opportunities are available. So I would encourage that. Talk to people in these different jobs and see what they say so that you have some ideas and do your own research. And then when you're of the age that you could possibly have a summer job, do something in the field that you're considering. And what I think is important, it's just as valuable to you to find out it's something that you don't want to do as it is to something you do want to do.
That's
So you're
right.
still working to discover and figure out what you want to do. So those are some things that I would encourage students to do on their journey.
That's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for that. We hope that you all hear that, and especially the one about summer jobs and working in fields that you want to potentially work in,
Mhm.
and then also reaching out to people. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what opportunities are going to unfold. Sometimes you just have to take a leap and ask and talk to people, and you never know what's going to happen. We
You know,
encourage you
Becca,
to
I
do
just
that.
thought of, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. One other thing that I thought about too is different clubs and organizations at
Yes,
school.
that's a good
We
one.
I would definitely take advantage of that. For example, I was reading the application of a student that was applying for one of our scholarships, and she wanted to be a doctor. So there was some kind of a group in the greater Cincinnati area, students from all different schools where they get together. They go to the outstanding medical facilities we're lucky to have in Cincinnati and do hands-on activities. So this is something to just kind of move you along to see, is this something that I would enjoy doing as a career? So I think that's another opportunity. Plus, you'll get to know the advisor of that club. And that person could be someone maybe down the road that could give you a recommendation for a scholarship or for college. So that's always a good thing to pay attention to at your school.
Yes, that's fantastic advice. Thank you for that addition. Fantastic advice. So we do have a couple other questions that are from our audience. Would you have some time to answer those today?
You sure do.
Awesome. So the first question is, um, what kinds of special equipment is used for sorting through all of the material that is received at the Rumpke facilities? Are there, are there special machines that are just specific to Rumpke? Are they these broader machines that a lot of trash facilities use? Just tell us a little bit about how that looks.
Well, our facility, which by the way is called a material recovery facility
Okay.
or a MRF, that's how we refer to it. And yes, it's very state of the art. There are pieces of equipment in our facility called disc screeners that are just revolving discs that the material rides over. We have optical scanners that are very sophisticated. They can actually recognize the plastic bottles and jugs, or they can recognize the paper or cartons. So very sophisticated technology. Some of those pieces of equipment can cost as much as $1 million, but they do a really fantastic job. We have a magnet. There's nothing particularly sophisticated about that, but that's going to attract those steel cans that you put in your recycling bin. And then we also have something called an eddy current, which I think is a very cool piece of technology. This is what we use to separate the aluminum cans. So when the aluminum cans are coming along the conveyor belt along with the other material. An eddy current is a rare earth magnet that repels aluminum. So most of the material at the end of the conveyor belt just drops straight down. But those aluminum cans are propelled and they fly off the back onto a separate belt. So it's a very ingenious way of separating the aluminum. So all of this technology, again, very sophisticated in combination with the people, and we have great sorters that work very hard at this plant. With that combination, we're able to sort this material. It's baled in great big pieces of equipment that we're baling the cartons or we're baling cardboard or paper or aluminum. So it can then be sold to companies that make new products. And I wanted to add too that Rumpke is the only waste hauler and recycling company in the nation with our own glass processing facility. So say,
Oh,
for
very
example, you put
interesting.
a glass pickle jar in your recycling bin. When it comes to Rumpke Recycling, to the MRF, remember Material Recovery Facility, we're going to break that glass intentionally, and then it's driven to our glass processing facility in Dayton. There's so many companies in Ohio that take that glass to make either fiberglass or glass bottles and jars. So it's a really good fit for us. That glass does not have to go very far. So I would encourage all of you to take a look at some of the videos on our website, because one of the videos goes through in great detail the technology that we use to separate this material.
That's very cool. I did not know any of that. And it's very awesome to hear that we are doing, in-state, in-area recycling with our glass, especially. So that's awesome. The next question is, are there ways to sort out recyclables from trash? So if somebody were to throw away something that is recyclable, is there a way that Rumpke then goes through the trash and removes that recycling, or is that unfortunately much harder to do? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Becca, because a lot of times people think that there's some kind of a follow-up at the landfill, that if for whatever reason, mistakenly, you put something in the trash that should have been recycled, that there are people at the landfill that are retrieving, that are pulling out that material. That doesn't happen. First of all, there are monstrous pieces of equipment at the landfill that are driving over and over that material to compact it down as much as possible, because we want that landfill to last as much as possible. So it wouldn't be safe for our employees to do that. Secondly, if you think about it, that material would have been transported to the landfill in a trash truck. So it would probably be pretty contaminated with food or whatever things that could be in that truck that would contaminate that material. So the companies that we're selling this recyclable material to are not interested in that. We want to really minimize the contamination of all of these different materials that we accept for recycling. So I guess what I'm saying is the responsibility is on all of us to determine if this is something that could be recycled, it goes in your recycling bin. One truck picks that up, it goes to Rumpke Recycling. If it's trash, it goes into the trash can. A different truck picks it up, it goes to the landfill.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that's very important for people to recognize and be aware of, that it starts with you. And if we
Mhm.
want to make a difference and we want to see a change, we have to take that extra step. So the last question we have is in regards to that. What are some suggestions that you have for the general public about recycling and how to make sure they're recycling properly?
All right, that's a great question, and it's a question that we answer very frequently. It's so important. So first of all, this is one rule I would say. If you're in doubt as to whether it's something that Rumpke accepts, throw it out in the trash. And then make every effort to find out before your next pickup if that's something that we accept. That's really important, because putting things in your recycling container that are not acceptable can really cause some problems for us and maybe interfere with us doing the job that we need to do to separate this material properly. So that would definitely be one thing. Also, I want to talk about plastic for a moment, because this is one category of material that is very confusing to people. So first of all, we tell you to forget about that symbol on the bottom of the container, the triangle made out of the arrows with a number in the center. We call it a recycling symbol. It's not really that, it's telling you the type of plastic. So we say disregard that. Instead, take a look at the shape of that plastic container. If the top of the container is narrower than the base, we can accept it. So if you think about what that means that we want plastic bottles and jugs. So we don't want yogurt containers or what we call clamshells that maybe you would buy strawberries or tomatoes or something, cherry tomatoes, something like that in. It has to be a bottle or jug, because the companies that we're selling plastic to want containers that have been made by the blown mold method. There's kind of some of our science coming in here. That's the way those containers are made. It has a lot to do with physics and the way those containers melt. So it has to be a bottle or jug. So look at the shape of the container. And then take a look at our website. You know, of course we accept cartons. We want you to remove the plastic lid and the straw. Glass, as I mentioned, glass bottles and jars, paper, cardboard, aluminum cans, steel cans, all of those things. Even an aerosol can, if it's totally empty with the tip and plastic lid removed, can go in your recycling container. So these are the things that we want. These are the things that we have markets for. So we were talking about how close the markets are for the glass, but please know that 98% of the material that comes to Rumpke is being sold in our country. And most of that material coming to Cincinnati is being sold in a 250 to 300 mile radius. So very close to home.
Thank you. That's very helpful, and I'm sure that answered a lot of questions for a lot of people. I know it answered questions that I had earlier this week. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. That is all we have for today. And thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with us. We really, really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Some Girls Virtual. We hope that you will keep tuning in to all the awesome videos that Cincinnati Museum Center has to offer, including story tree time, dance parties, vintage beauty tutorials. We have museum on taps also. So please keep tuning in and please keep learning, Cincinnati. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.